another episode of Investors Playbook. We are live here with you all on YouTube. As always, you have your co-hosts Deshaun and Cornell. Today, we're gonna go over some of the changes that Trump's tariffs have had on the U.S. economy, specifically the U.S. citizens and the U.S. companies that are making changes and seeing changes because of these tariffs. Okay. Um, One of the headlines that we picked up, Cornell, he's going to dive deeper into it, but essentially, a company experienced increase in sales once the release of the tariff news happened, which might be a actual head scratcher, but once Cornell dives into what this company is talking about, it probably will make more sense. Uh, so yeah, go ahead, Cornell. Explain to them how this company experienced an increase in sales when it
All right,
came
so
to Trump releasing tariffs.
basically, the headline said CEO says his sales tripled when Trump's tariffs hit. So, of course, when I read this headline, I'm like, what? Triple? Like, even though there's an increase in price. But then as I dove into the article, I started to read, and he started to mention panic buying, which is a common thing you all know when things are going crazy. This happened during COVID. It happens when the supplies in Savannah when they were on strike. So this is people are known for panic buying. So this doesn't surprise me after reading the article. But the reason why people are panic buying is because later these goods are going to be more expensive. So I'm sure that this same CEO will see a decrease in sales and significant decrease in sales, especially because the tariff on China for all goods except for tech goods are over 200%.
I
So
think around like 245 last time I checked. I believe that's the number, which is, I mean, it doesn't even sound real when you think about it, right? Just a week ago, the tariffs on China weren't even above 100%. Now they're at 245%. So, um, that I see because again, during COVID, like you mentioned, we had a lot of people purchasing, like just over purchasing because they weren't sure of the supply in the near future. This is that exact same situation. And it's less well, the supply might be there, but like you said, the company is probably going to have an increase of expenses and they're going to pass those increased expenses on to the consumer, meaning that what they're buying now, what the consumers are buying now, who knows what the price will be in the near future. We might see a significant increase in prices. So people are rushing to these stores and trying to purchase as many things as possible. Um, and yeah, I think this might just be the beginning. Who knows what's going to happen next? Um, but some of the lighter side of things that we're seeing are good and favorite. Nvidia, um, they did make a pledge after these tariffs came out, saying that they are going to bring manufacturing of all AI back to the US. They said $500 billion in the next 4 years is what NVIDIA plans on spending when it comes to them creating opportunity to make AI, um, to create tools that'll be all artificial intelligent, all in the United States of America. So that I think is a more positive move, and I feel like that's what Trump was hoping would happen, right? So I think Nvidia is just one of many that plans on bringing jobs back because it seems a bit expensive for them to continue doing business outside of the U.S. So um, and that was a pledge of the next 4 years. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
another question I wanted to ask. Oh, go ahead.
but I just kind of wanted to speak on the Nvidia thing. So one uh, one thing that is an obstacle for Nvidia is that Trump. I don't know if it was Trump himself, but basically they're banned from selling certain products to China. I know that we saw a decline in the stock. Nvidia went as low as like I want to say like $86 at one point, which is crazy because Nvidia is such a reputable company and is leading the charge in AI.
Yeah.
So I think that now is a great time Me personally, I definitely put a long term option play and also bought into some shares when it comes to AI.
Yeah. I think that one of the sectors outside of tech is always a sector that you want to focus on, right? Now we want to focus on those specific companies that are going to be producing that artificial intelligence, things like AI. I mean, things like Nvidia,
Nvidia.
um, the the Googles, or the Alphabets. But I think also another sector that might be advantageous to look at would be that DoD sector, simply because in times of countrywide uncertainty, a lot of individuals start putting money into these defense companies. And this is also a very huge earnings week for the defense companies. You have Raytheon that's expecting earnings this week. You have Northrop Grumman that's expecting earnings this week. You have Lockheed Martin. All these companies are having earnings this week. And because, again, of just the uncertainty with the defense companies. I mean, the uncertainty with the United States and
Mhm.
how these tariffs are making everybody just kind of real antsy. Um, People are starting to look to defense companies as a way to park their money. Something else I did research is that given the history of people taking their money out of the stock market during uncertainty, that hasn't happened in this instance as great, right? I think it says somewhere around 73% of people kept their money in the US. I mean, in the stock market. It was maybe around 15 or 16 that panic sold and tried to put it somewhere safe. And there's even a percentage of people who doubled down because
You,
go ahead.
you know what I think that is? I think now we're more educated. There's more we can look back on historic events that
Hmm.
show that it wasn't a good move. Now we have information getting reaching a lot more people, especially with social media.
Right.
Just the fact that we have computers in our phone, we're a lot more educated than we were back then. It seems as though people were really it happened, right? They lost money and they thought that it was permanent. It's like, man, these companies are going to zero, but now we're more informed and we know that that really can't happen for us to still have an economy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Nvidia all go to zero, what does that look like? We're in the apocalypse.
Right. There's way bigger problems than making money in the stock market if these stocks cease. You know what I mean? And saying a company goes to zero, like a large company like that getting put to zero in the stock market means that there, like you said, is some real trouble happening. Like it goes beyond like figuring out investments because there are, who knows, if that's happening, there's some serious problems.
Yeah, our
So
country is too intertwined with them. Like
yeah.
Microsoft, think about what is it like? I'm just guessing because I don't know, but like
Hmm.
70%
Right.
of computers we use Windows.
Right. Same with Apple, right? Like if you don't have an Apple, you have, some Android device more than likely, but you're talking about a large number of people using a a device that comes from one company, Apple, right? And it's not just cell phones, it's MacBooks. It's it's mainly those two. Apple Watches, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot
But
of
it's not just that though, because you got to
yeah.
think about the entire ecosystem when it comes to apps. Like
Yeah,
the
that's
App
true
Store, a
too.
lot of them generate their income from Apple
Mhm. Yeah.
because that like they can't even reach their customer base a lot of the times without those apps on the phone. It
Yeah.
makes it a lot more simple and accessible
True.
for people.
So, so all that to say that, yeah, we peak game. All right, individuals have realized that taking their money out of the stock market when there is trouble in the market is not the best move because if you look historically back, you can look at it right now. The people that's watching this video, if you look historically back on any recession, any market disaster, any worldwide panic, the market has experienced a downfall. Of course, the time difference is not the same for each one, but the market has always gone up after, right? So, yeah, they just are realizing that panic selling doesn't really in the long run, it is not a positive thing because
Right.
those are gains that you are losing, money that's no longer being compounded. And it really just depends. If you took your money out at the bottom of a downturn, then yeah, that's a loss. That
Yeah.
was avoidable because you were worried that the market was going to go further down, and it could very well go further down. But history has shown us that it tends to come back if you give it enough time to. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
basically you're locking in those losses if you and the
exactly.
thing is people are trying to time the market, but you're never going to catch the reverse. And whenever that reverse happens, is going to be a sharp one. So you're
Hmm.
missing the bulk of the gains. Like think about when Trump put in the tariffs and we first got into the trade war with China. Like what happened to the stock market? It sank for like 3 days. And then he said, you know what, we're gonna do a 90-day pause. What happened? QQQ went up 10%.
Sprang back up
That was the most money I ever made in my life, literally.
in a yeah, like talking about in a day's
In one
time.
day. In one
Yeah,
day. That was the
yeah,
most money I ever made in my life.
that's crazy. But I know that we also want to, I guess, talk about not just what happens with the stock market and when the tariffs go up, but with this company saying that they increase sales, do you feel like just in general things are about to get more expensive for people? So, and if that is the case, what do you think will be like a good path forward or a good way to navigate um, once these tariffs once we start to see the actual impact of the tariffs on everyday living? You know what I mean?
Man, honestly, the people I'm worried about are the people that are already check to check.
Hmm.
Because it's easy to tell people, hey, invest, hey, make sure you're putting into savings. But if they already don't have enough to survive right now, and then these tariffs, come into the effects of these tariffs come into play, it's like, man, they got to make some serious life changes. And and don't get me wrong, like some of it is people using their money the wrong way, right? But
Yes.
some situations people just don't make enough money, and
Yeah.
everybody knows, like when it comes to making more money, it's not just, hey, well, just make more money. It's not that simple. Like
Hmm.
there are a lack of jobs, there's a lack of education, there's just it's not the I'm not saying it can't happen, but you really gotta lock in, and you really got to be in a situation where you can go out and make the extra income. So what I
Yeah.
would say is lower your expenses as much as you can. I know it's hard. I know that we're used to certain things that we feel like should be a necessity, but everything that people feel like is a need is not. Okay,
Facts.
so
Facts.
yeah,
Yeah.
time to tighten up.
Yep. I agree. I think definitely decreasing your expenses, and I'll add on to that and say increase your skills. Like just
I like that.
you added education. I think education is extremely important, but also your skill set. What can you do with that education? How can you actively make changes in people's businesses, in your own life, given the education that you have? How do you make your education actionable, right? What are you learning that can then be converted into you telling a job, I know how to do this, and you should pay me because I know how to do this. You got to increase your skill set. All right. Whether it's learning how to do taxes, learning how to DJ, learning how, whatever the case may be, whatever skill you want to decide to learn that can generate you money, even if it's like learning how to understand the Instagram algorithm so that you can be an influencer, doesn't matter. I think increasing your skills is one of the most important things when it comes to trying to find ways to make more money. So yeah,
I
definitely
like
need to
that
do
one.
that for
And
sure,
I,
for
I
sure.
wanted to ask you, not to backtrack too much,
Uh-uh.
but you're talking about Department of Defense stocks. I see that Department of Defense stocks like Northrop Grumman, like as the stock market is falling everywhere else, Northrop Grumman stands plus 14% year to date.
Hmm.
So, do you feel like this will continue for defense stocks, this gradual increase? Are you investing in any Department of Defense stocks currently?
I think that given any mention of they're even saying just the word trade war, any mention of stuff like that, right? Any mention of countrywide turmoil or countrywide discord where the US is facing potential threats from wherever, that is going to always make people turn towards defense because if stuff were to hit the fan, right? Who are we
Right.
leaning towards, right?
Right.
These we're gonna have to have a lot of these companies like do faster work. Um, so yeah, I mean, you know that that's my current employer, so I do invest in Northrop, but um, outside of that, no, it's mainly that's it for me. Yeah, that's through the retirement account, of course. But
Yeah.
I think more importantly, it's like you um you have to understand the sentiment of people when it comes to how they are going to see this discord or see the fear that might be brewing in the US and what they might do and how they might react. So yeah, I think that companies in the DoD sector, those DoD contracted companies, um, they are typically a good bet to be placed on when it comes to discount. I mean, it's kind of like a catch 22, right? If people are betting on defense companies, it means that there might be something bad about to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's always the thought of defense companies still being a good investment and why they are still a good investment because of the uncertainty. It's almost like because of so much fear, because of so much anxiety or uncertainty, we are going to put our money on this company that can do that supports the Department of Defense. So
Right.
if you dive deeper into that statement, it can be kind of scary, but yeah, I do think that it seems to be and has been a safe bet when it comes to uncertainty amongst countries, which we have right now, specifically the trade war with China. So,
Yes.
yep. But yeah, man. How about you? Are you invested in uh
Uh,
any defense companies?
when it comes to defense companies, I know one year I just put into a defense mutual fund and I never took that money out. Of course, it doesn't grow as fast as tech, but also it doesn't, when things happen like now, these trade wars, it doesn't decrease.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
for sure.
All
That's
right.
what's up, man. All right, man. Well, look, um, if you all are also checking us out, man, make sure that you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share. Me and Cornell, we do this every week. We want to make sure that people are informed on most things financial, all things financial, and how it can affect you potentially, right? Also, Facebook group. We definitely are conversing in that group and making sure that the people there are able to ask questions and get their questions answered when it comes to invest all the way from how do I open up a brokerage account to um, like kind of what we're talking about now, right? Some of the news that we're talking about.
The more
So
advanced stuff.
exactly, definitely want to join in the Facebook group. You can find that on at Investors Playbook LLC on in Facebook. Um, yeah, what else we got for him, Cornell?
Uh, and I think you covered it, man. I
For sure.
appreciate it. And thank y'all. I think that's
Hmm.
really the biggest thing. Thank y'all for supporting. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for in the chat. We really appreciate all of it.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, look, another good episode in the books. We're gonna catch y'all next week.
All right, y'all.
Peace.